on this edition of the Ultimate New Orleans Sports Show.
I think one of the biggest differences year 2 versus year 1 is just how much more aggressive he is, right?
He looks calmer, he looks more in control, and I think that's sort of the baseline of everything about him in year 2.
Yeah, and Chase Young is absolutely wiping the floor with him.
And it's like, this dude looks like Thor.
Yeah.
It's the Ultimate New Orleans Sports Show. This time a mid-training camp edition with the New Orleans Saints, but not a mid-New Orleans Saints training camp edition at all. We're here to bring you some excellent coverage on everything going on around the New Orleans Saints. And, of course, the illustrious, the wonderful, the magnetic Doug Mouton and myself, Ross Jackson. Thank you for being here with us.
That's a good one. That's a new one. I haven't been called magnetic before. And he means that literally.
I mean it literally. Literally.
Yeah, no question.
Yeah.
All right, look, let's start with the quarterback because I feel like that's where this team has to start. It was the one question we didn't know this time last year. It's the one answer we do know right now. And we know this team's going to go as far as he's going to take them. Tyler Shuck, the differences you're seeing now, I feel like we've heard more off the field from so many different players and coaches about the steps he's taken as a leader and him taking control and him owning this thing. But we've also seen differences on the field, haven't we?
Yeah, big time. I think one of the biggest differences year 2 versus year 1 is just how much more aggressive he is, right? Taking some opportunities, taking some shots, trying to maybe fit passes into tighter windows, maybe throwing some of the things that you wouldn't usually throw during a game. This is your time to test all of that.
Try it all.
Yeah, wide receiver Devon Bailey actually talked about it. And one of the things that he mentioned from his perspective is, oh, well, this shows me as a wide receiver that he trusts me, right? Okay, I'll throw it to that tight window. I think there's a big difference between being in a competition and being the guy. With him being the guy, it feels like he's attacking a bit more.
100%. And being the guy, the one thing I noticed too is that goal line drill that they ran a few days ago when he threw a TD to Jordan Tyson, then he threw an interception when he and Tyson weren't on the same page. But I was sitting next to Ro Brown, Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame, one of the greats of all time. Love Ro Brown. And Ro said, watch how the ball comes out of his hands. And it's the kind of thing Justin Reed was talking about where it's so catchable. There's just something about his ball that looks like it would be easy to catch. But then more than that, I said, and watch his feet. He looks calmer. He looks more in control. And I think that's sort of the baseline of everything about him in year 2 is everything about him seems more mature and calmer heading into the second year.
Yeah, I think you had a pretty good example of that in the play right after that interception too, where he went back to a similar area of the field on a touchdown pass to Noah Fant. Very good at just saying, you know what, I'm going to discard the mistake. That was a miscommunication. You can deal with that. But then being able to come back from that the very next play and still attacking.
Yeah, he's been fun to watch. All right, we're going to show you now what is on the menu on this edition of the Ultimate New Orleans Sports Show, because for a camp that's only a few days, a week old, we have had so much sort of breaking news. So on the large plates, we've already begun our conversation of Tyler Shuck. There's certainly more meat on that bone to talk about. Chase Young has been unbelievable. Among elite athletes in the NFL, he's still sometimes a man among boys.
Oh, absolutely.
In a way that is stunning to watch.
Yeah, I'll tell the story when we get everybody here, but he has one of the funniest moment in camp.
Oh, nice. Good. I want to hear that. All right. Good. And then the small plates is the breaking news.
Yeah, of course. We got a lot of it, too. Chris Olave gets his extension. Obviously, that's huge going in, the role that he's going to play. Brian Brzee expected to be out for the rest of the year with an apparent ACL injury, which hasn't been confirmed, but kind of has been discussed around. And then Jalen Polk announcing a surprise retirement just a few days into camp, a guy that we thought would have a potential role with this team.
Yeah, I really did. I saw him as the 4th best wide receiver in this room. We're going to get to that in a second, but I want to show you who our dinner guests are. One of the greats of all time, Luke Johnson, is here from NOLA.com/TheTimesPicayune/
TheGoat.com.
It's
Luke Johnson.
It should say, or it should just say The Goat, NOLA.com, and people would know that that's Luke Johnson. And Seth Lewis will bring his comedy stylings. And the last call, tell us about it.
Yeah, so I'm gonna do a little bit of a variation of the drink that we had the last time that Luke was on the show.
Because we get excited when Luke's coming.
Yes, we get very excited. So that was a last word. We're gonna do a variation called a final word. Feels appropriate for a New Orleans sports show. But think last word, but instead of gin, it's rye whiskey.
Rye whiskey. It's rye whiskey with some herbals. I would describe this as a drink drinker's drink.
This is a drinker's drink.
You know what?
And we
I
are
hate to say
we are
it,
drinkers.
I have a little bit of a drinker. All right, this is Jalen Polk, and this is the other topic I want to hit with you right now.
Yeah.
Here are your Saints wide receivers, right?
Yeah.
I saw Jalen Polk as the guy who fit in 4, where now you might be counting on Bryce Lance, the rookie, to play a major role. Now, these are the 5 guys you think are going to make the roster at wide receiver, right?
Yep.
And Barryon Brown more as a kick returner than as a wide receiver.
Additionally as a kick returner.
Additionally as a kick returner. And then these are the guys beneath that who, I guess, maybe practice squad guys who could be on the practice squad. But losing the number 4, or again, I'm projecting
Presumed,
the number
right?
4, the presumed Mouton number 4. Losing Jalen Polk, who I thought looked good in what we had seen of him in the minicamp. Losing him, what does that now mean?
Yeah, I think really what it changes is a potential drop in excitement. But in terms of anything proven, not a ton. It's really just kind of a potential conversation. I mean, that's a guy that was a 2nd-round pick. He was a top 40 selection when he came into the league. Hasn't played a lot in the NFL, played a little bit during his rookie season, missed his 2nd year with a shoulder injury. That's when the Saints traded to acquire him. And then now the idea here going into the 3rd season was try to get the most out of him that you possibly could. He seemed motivated to provide that, and as he told us, make the Saints right for betting on him. And so if you're judging by the potential, you lose a lot there. But you were still waiting to see what that was going to be.
Here's the way I would look at it, and kind of what I mean by this is Ronnie Bell catches a touchdown pass in the finale, right?
Yeah.
Ronnie Bell was 8th among wide receivers in targets, meaning in a 17-game season, the Saints went 8 deep. In fact, there was a number 9, too.
Yeah.
Samori Toure was number 9. They went 9 deep at wide receiver, and you have certainly lost someone who would be in the top 8, obviously, whether he's the 4, the 5, or whatever. And just the depth question, and again, this is a position that you could probably afford to lose.
Yeah.
Also, Brian Brzee is the same thing. Losing depth this early on a team that has depth issues scares me a little bit.
Yeah, that's understandable. I don't know that they have depth issues at this position anymore with the addition of Bryce Lance, with the addition of
and they
Barryon
don't
Brown.
if nobody else gets hurt.
Right, and so they've helped themselves a bit. And then, if nothing else, they're behind those guys. They're where they were last year, but maybe with another year of experience, I guess. And so, look, you could go and try to add another wide receiver if you want to, but otherwise, what you're probably looking at here is 5 wide receivers on the active roster, and then you're looking at the multi-tight end sets to help you get through the rest of kind of the passing needs before you even really have to get to those extra wide receivers that potentially make the practice.
And I do think since day 1 of the OTAs, Bryce Lance has shown us, the expression I've continually used about him is that he gets a disproportionate number of passes thrown his way, and that has continued in training camp.
Yeah, absolutely. And now Barryon Brown's catching on in terms of his ability to not just make big plays down the field. He obviously had that big pass down the left sideline in the first day of padded practices delivered by Spencer Rattler down the field. That was exciting and fun and all that. But he also had a really nice catch over the middle that he was able to kind of show what he can do with the ball in his hands as well. And so his ability to be able to create as a yards after catch guy, I think, adds another element.
It certainly does. All right, it is time to bring on our guests. It is our mid-training camp edition of the Ultimate New Orleans Sports Show. That is Seth Lewis from WWL-TV. This, Luke Johnson, who covers the Saints and has for 9 seasons.
This is my 9th season, yeah.
Nine seasons for NOLA.com/The Times-Picayune.
I love it. Hey, speaking of this being your 9th year, what do you feel like is the most exciting thing that you've seen here with your 9th training camp so far?
Yeah, okay, so let's think about this a little bit, and I think I'm just going to go extremely general here, but Chase Young.
Yeah, that's mine too.
Yeah.
Right? I just think the guy looks like an absolute monster.
Yeah.
And he's going up against Kelvin Banks, who I think is going to be really, really good. And you hear nothing but rave reviews about Kelvin Banks and where he is physically and where he is mentally and all this stuff. And Chase Young is absolutely wiping the floor with him. Okay, so I
the
think
Chase Young effect for sure.
I think that we saw last year a taster.
Yeah.
Of what he can be.
Yeah.
Right. Now we're gonna get the chaser, and that's
Nice.
I really do think that he is primed as long as he can stay healthy.
Yeah.
He's primed to have just a monster year because
Yeah.
he looks like the fully realized version of the player that we all thought he could be.
I agree with that 100%, and I love. It looks like they're working on more packages to put him in spaces with Granderson, with Caden Ellis. moving guys around in a way that could be really fun to watch. What do you got, Seth?
I hate to say it. Chase Young is also my pick. Because,
it makes sense.
We did not plan this. We did not plan
when you're
this.
like, these are already superhumans, right? When you're talking about these athletes.
Yeah.
And Chase Young gets out there, and like there was a play where I want to say it was like Travis Etienne caught a ball in the flat, and like he's just like I can't see Travis anymore.
Swallowed him.
By the time he's like standing over him, it's like, bro, the first play of the padded practice, here he is just throwing humans down. You know what I mean? And it's like, this dude looks like Thor.
No, see, I was going to say it looked like small Captain America standing next to big Captain
It
America.
does.
Right,
it looks like actual Captain America standing next to an action figure. You know what I mean? Like to me, that's the most impressive thing. And my belief is a lot of teams, especially when you're talking about a team that's elite, usually you need a guy that is going to be top 5, top 10 at their position. And we've talked about the leap that he made last year, and he's my pick for making another leap, another breakout. And you see those type of moments, and it's like you can really believe that maybe he will take it from a 10-sack season to a 14, 15-sack season, whatever it is.
He's got to be one of the biggest what-ifs of the 2025 season based on what he did in 12 games and going, oh, what if the Saints had him for 17? That play that you were just talking about with Travis Etienne, that is the play that I was referencing at the beginning of the show as being the funniest moment in camp. Because he didn't touch Travis Etienne at all. He just chased him out out of bounds and then flexed and screamed at him. That was it. And it's like, look, sometimes football can be simple. Like, it could be all of this stuff about like this package and getting them out in space. Sometimes it's just good to be 265 pounds and bigger and better than the guy that's across from you. You know what
faster
I mean? He checks those boxes.
Is he yours too?
No. I kind of had the feeling that we were going to get at least a couple of Chase Youngs, but mine can still be related in that, like, I just love the competition and the physicality of camp so far. I love that Kellen Moore going into his second year is immediately coming in and saying, you know what, let's get into 11 on 11s. Let's run a lot of team drills. Let's compete. And I've loved seeing that so far.
Mine is Chase Young first, you don't have one observation at camp. The two guys that I think have looked really quick in a way that I like on offense is Travis Etienne and Jordan Tyson. Now, you expect it from a lot of other guys, but the two of them have both really impressed me just in their quickness and athleticism. The upgrade in the weapons on this team, are you seeing it right now?
Yeah, I saw it from the first summer practice. Look, we mentioned this is my 9th season covering the team. They've had better, like, top-level talent, but they've never been top to bottom as good as they are right now at the skill position players. Since I've been covering the team. And I mean, I think it goes back beyond, before I started covering the team. They've had the Michael Thomases and the Marcus Colstons and they've had the Alvin Kamara at the peak of his powers and everything like that, but they haven't had like 7 guys who you're going to have to account for. And if somebody wants to just if Travis Etienne goes on a heater and they're like, well, we're going to devote all our resources to stopping him, it's like, okay, good luck. They got like 6 other guys who can hurt you.
It reminds me of like the early days with Drew. You know what I mean? Like where you had 4 wide receivers. Like, I don't know who you would want to say was the 4th best wide receiver. Let's say it was Robert Meacham. But you still had to worry about Lance Moore. You still had to worry about Devery Henderson. You still had to worry about Marcus Colston, right? Then you had a tight end like Jeremy Shockey. Then you had several running backs in that backfield, no matter if you want to talk about Pierre Thomas, no matter if you want to talk about Reggie Bush. There was such an amount of weapons at Drew's disposal. And the good thing is Drew was never going to be fixated on force-feeding one guy. And so that's what made that offense so dangerous. And so when you talk about top-to-bottom options, that I think back to that time as far as when they had so many options around the field for Drew to choose from.
You see it, huh?
Yeah, big time. I mean, I'm with these guys 100% in terms of just like this is one of the deepest stables that we've seen. I think it was Spencer Rattler who said the horses are in the stable or something like that. Like, it very much feels like that for this situation. And Luke, your point is so good because it really is the first time probably in several years that we could talk about the Saints offense being a pick your poison situation.
Yeah, right. And I could see a situation where Achane got 22 carries in a game or 22 touches in a game. If things are going right, then I could also see a situation where he got 7 or 8 because Jordan Tyson was going or Olave was going. Like, there are some legitimate options. Yeah. I think Tyler Shuck's going to have some fun.
Yeah, that pairing of Chris Olave and Jordan Tyson is one that I'm really, really waiting to see, kind of have that maybe late camp explosion now as they get settled in.
Yeah, it's not a big small situation. They're both athletes.
Yeah. I mean, like, they're so similar in the way they look on the field. It's like Tyson's a little bit bigger, right? But like the fluidity that they move with. You watch them run routes, and when they're doing these individual drills, they'll run, every receiver will run the same route back to back, and it's like just watching two guys in a mirror. I think that's exciting. I was a little like worried about kind of too much similarity there between the top two guys. But like, I mean, if you're going to put 2 Chris Olaves on the field,
right.
You feel pretty good about your chances.
Yeah.
Well, let's flip that around then. What is the boil water advisory for you? You've had a week to look at stuff. What is the one thing that is making you groan? Luke, you go first. Do you have something that's like, okay, this could be a problem?
When I was going into training camp, I was thinking the corner depth was really scary for me. I think I'm maybe coming around a little bit on it being okay. I think we've seen some young guys like Jaden Price step up. You've seen I think some decent things out of Martin Emerson. Ike Adam was in with the ones, looked fine the other day. You don't want that, but I think they're okay. To me, it's I want to see this offense kind of click a little bit more consistently. And they've got so many new pieces that you can explain it away a little bit. But next week we're going to get into joint practices with the Jacksonville Jaguars. Preseason's going to be starting up. I just want to see those guys because they've got so much talent. I mean, we just talked about it. They have so much talent. I have all the belief in the world in Tyler Shuck. I really like their offensive line. It's got to click at some point, though.
Yeah, I would agree with that. That's what I was thinking, because when we think about all of the days of camp, how many days would we say that the offense was even? I would say 1. And that was the first padded practice. That was probably if you wanted to give them a win, you know what I mean? If we were scoring like boxing, it'd be like, okay, well, maybe you can give them that round, but there's no other round that's necessarily debatable for the offense. And so for me, I agree as far as there's a lot of new pieces that are being put into place. I think that some of it is also just kind of the wear and tear of camp, as far as you're going against the same team. They know you well, you know them well. And so the defense sometimes is going to have an advantage, especially early on in camp. But if there was one thing, it would be the offense and maybe the slow start to camp.
What is yours?
I'm gonna say kicker still. And it's not because I don't think either one of these guys is going to pan out. I just think that there's been a little bit there's not been enough confidence in either one of these guys just yet, based upon each of them having missed one kick. One of them, Tanner Brown, missed his very first kick of camp, which was an extra point from extra point distance. Not great. He's made everything since then. He made the re-kick and all that kind of stuff. So fine. Charlie Smith, 14 of 15 in camp at the time that we're recording this. 14, though, that one that he missed came from 44 yards. It's in that 40 to 49 yard range that was pesky for him. Last year he was 3 of 5 in that range from last season. So I think that that's probably a kick that maybe stings a little bit for him to miss, knowing that he knows that that was an area where he wanted to improve and he wanted to kind of be perfect going through camp, or as close to perfect as possible. And so I think the thing is, for me, Charlie Smith still very much feels like he's in the lead in that conversation, but the distance here early on in camp still isn't super significant. And that's not massively surprising. So it's a tiny boil water advisory. You only got to boil it a little bit, but it's
you
still
boil it
something.
for 30 minutes.
Yeah. But that's one that
sometimes the advisory goes quick.
But that's one that I would just say the confidence isn't fully there yet.
Yeah, mine is still sort of the same thing, just the paper thin nature of the defense. I like what you have. You mentioned cornerback. Ross, you said this 3 months ago, and it's just sticking in my head. The Saints are counting on a lot of guys who have never done it before. And the cornerback position, you got one injury, you're immediately in trouble. At safety, you have one injury, and I think you're immediately in trouble. At linebacker, maybe you're in trouble. On the D-line, you've already lost Brzee. I just worry if they can withstand what are the normal injuries in a season. I thought this was a rebuild that was going to take 1 more year than it has so far. So I don't mean it against Mickey Loomis that they're not quite there yet, but I don't know if this roster is deep enough yet to compete the way you want to. But man, you're right though, Luke. The more I watch him, the more I see top end, the more I see Chase Young. When you say 15 is a limit, I'm thinking 20 is like believable. You know what I mean? When you watch him, you see that. So there's a lot of things. I'm trying to like dial myself back and not be more excited than I should be.
Yeah, I get you. That's kind of the desire is to kind of pull back a little bit, but. Man, there's a lot of reason to be excited about this season right now. Like,
well, let's do a rapid fire if you don't mind. Who's going to be the kicker?
Charlie.
Charlie.
Yeah, it's gonna be Charlie.
You think it'll be Charlie? Yeah, I would.
Look, and that's just like off the cuff. It could easily be Tanner Brown.
It
could. But we've only seen him kick twice. We've been watching Charlie kick for 3 years. I think we've seen the gradual, and sometimes fast improvement from him.
That's kind of the biggest thing for me is that you can clearly see the upward trajectory of Charlie. And so when I talk about him missing that 44-yarder, it stings because I know that's an area where he wanted to get better. It stings for him in that case. But I think he's ultimately going to be the guy because not only do you get the field goal, the place kicker side of it all, but like you kind of wonder like, oh man, he's got that onside kick situation that's already in his in his coffers as well.
And he's got the 54-yarder he made, right?
He's got the longest so far.
How many more yards could that have been good
for?
Oh,
yeah, that would have been good for another
8 or 10?
Yeah.
Yes.
Be close to that. Yeah. And look, I mean, we've seen him. I know he's said he's made from 70. We've seen him make from like deep 60s.
Yeah.
In training camp practices.
7, I think, in a practice.
70 is believable.
Yeah.
But like the talent, the leg talent is like there's absolutely zero question about it. And probably the same thing with Tanner Brown, who made a pair of 60-plus yarders in one game in the UFL. I mean, the talent's there, but like they've got to that's got to be more consistent. It's been a position that hasn't been consistent for a couple years now.
And what's the diagnosis of that miss, right? Like when they roll back the film and they look at it, were the laces where they're supposed to be? Was it something different? Like there's so much that they're looking at on film that we don't know.
And the cool thing too, when you're talking about Charlie, is the confidence that he had last year. Like they brought Tanner in to give him competition, but it's not because he didn't show something last year. Like it wasn't because they're necessarily like scared that, all right, like this might not be our solution. It's like, hey, let's bring this guy in. Let's like make sure that he's the guy. But he did show a lot last year to prove that he belongs as a kicker in the NFL.
Yeah, you know what time it is.
Last call!
It is the best portion of the Ultimate New Orleans Sports Show, the part where we make a drink and have a think. It is called
The Last Call.
The Last Call. Ross, what are we making?
All right, so the last time that Luke was here, we did a last word. So this time we're doing a little bit of a variation on that, bringing back our old friend rye whiskey. So we're going with what's called a final ward. So it is a 3/4 ounce across the board, 4 ingredients, lemon juice in this case, along with maraschino liqueur, your rye whiskey, and then we have a substitute for green chartreuse. So green chartreuse, very rare, very hard to find. This is Doug's green chartreuse. We're not going to use this because I want him to be able to sell what's left of it on the black market. Instead, we're going to use the Izakara, which is kind of like a substitute for it. It's an herbal liqueur that's going to give it a lot of body. You serve it with a maraschino cherry, and everybody enjoys.
Yes.
Nice
also an herbal liqueur from the French mountains.
There you go.
Like green chartreuse.
Just like green chartreuse.
All right. Your call. You're up first.
Yeah, so I could talk about training camp and, all sorts of fun stuff in there, but, hey, guys, Drew Brees is going to the Hall of Fame this year.
Hall of Fame.
And, look, I'd like to say that it was my absolute pleasure to be able to cover Drew for my first couple years on the beat. And, you could see just like from our vantage point, like what made him special just on the day-to-day stuff, the stuff you hear everybody talking about right now. And there's nobody who's ever put together another career like him. And I was looking this up the other day. Notably, Drew Brees was my height, right?
Yeah.
6 feet tall. Drew Brees had 80,000 some odd passing yards in his career. You know who the next best passing yardage total for a 6-footer under quarterback was?
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
Fran Tarkenton, who's 33,000 yards behind him. You combine Fran Tarkenton and Josh Allen, like going into this season, they still don't match Drew Brees.
Wow.
Like special guy. Like the numbers are absolutely insane. Something like 58 games with 300 passing yards, 100 passer rating, 3 touchdowns. No active player has more than 39. Aaron Rodgers has 39. Tom Brady has 57. Drew is alone in that department. I mean, I could go on and on and on with numbers, but congrats, Drew. Special career. And I'm glad.
That'll be our toast.
I'm glad to have had a small part in covering it.
You want to do yours while we Ross pours?
Yeah,
That's awesome.
Well, my favorite Drew stat is the 5,000 yards because a lot of people thought that as the NFL advanced, that yards are going to continue to go up and that was going to not become a thing. And it's actually done the opposite. It's gone down. But the fact that he's had 5,000 yard seasons, and the next closest, I believe, is 2.
Yeah. Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it doesn't matter where people want to place him. He belongs among the greats, and he belongs as a first ballot Hall of Famer. Mine, quickly, will be on Barrion Brown, who had a really good day in the padded practice, but I just loved the moment that he had where it started with a drop in team drills with Spencer Rattler, but later in the practice, Spencer Rattler going back to him, and Chris Olave was the first person when he dropped it to go up and talk to him and say, hey, it's okay. Yeah. But one of the first people after he made that big catch down the sideline was Chris Olave. It shows the chemistry. It shows the leadership from a guy who just got paid. And it shows a rookie who was not fazed by a mistake he made.
Yeah, that's nice. Awesome. All right, look, let's toast Drew Brees. Yeah. Look, he brought us a Super Bowl to New Orleans. I will never forget it. I mean, obviously, the greatest moment in 40 years of covering sports, Drew Brees bringing the Saints to the Super Bowl. Well done. Let's toast to Drew Brees and Ross's final award.
Oh, buddy, that's magnificent.
Oh, man.
Oh, that is really good.
Yeah.
That's excellent.
Yeah.
Man, that is a balance. It's
Thank you, boys.
3/4 of each. All right, I'm going to do mine quickly. Mine is simply this. Midway through training camp, I like this team more than I did before training camp started. And I like this team. I am trying to find excuses to dial myself back, because I totally believe in Tyler Shuck, and I totally believe in Chase Young, and I like so many of the other pieces. Achane and Jordan Tyson and Chris Olave and David Edwards was a great addition. I'm getting excited about this season, and I'm trying to dial it back and not be too excited. Yeah. But I have already put a little bit of Mouton's own money on the plus, the over 7.5 wins.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
Mouton coins.
I put Mouton coin on that. Yes.
Mouton coin. I love that. I'm going to shout out an individual player, but I got to say I agree as well. I was thinking about, okay, which of the guys is becoming the camp darling so far,
that's good. Right? Yeah.
And it's easily Barrion Brown over on the offensive side. I would say. I would agree with that. I think for me, though, over on the defensive side, there's a little bit of a battle going on between Central Michigan's own Mike Heldman, who has been super fun to watch over the course of training camp so far. But the other one is a guy that I thought I might be crazy talking about him as early as I did. But cornerback Jaden Price.
Yeah, I knew you were going to go Jaden Price.
Jaden has been super fun to watch. He's been that backup star slot corner and everything, and he has been super, super fun, undercutting routes, very aggressive, physical, all of that has really brought it all together.
Unfortunately, didn't record the conversation from last year at training camp when I said, I kind of like this Jaden Price.
Yeah.
You and I had on the sideline. I think it was you and I.
Yeah.
That's good stuff.
I might have also had a couple too many final words in between.
There you go. What are we getting in this? Like, what do you taste more than anything else?
Greatness.
Greatness. Wow, that's good. Yeah.
It's the Drew Brees of cocktails. Is what I just said.
No, it's sweet on the front and a little bitter on the back. It's like really, really nice.
Okay. If you asked me what liquor was in this without telling me, I wouldn't have guessed right.
I would not have guessed right.
I wouldn't have guessed right either.
That's
And
awesome.
Really the herbalness of the chartreuse and or its substitute isn't overbearing at all.
No, it works.
No confusion mid-palate.
The substitute works. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching. We're going to have at least one more of these.
I think so.
Thanks for watching this edition of the Ultimate New Orleans Sports Show.